This podcast is brought to you by Sideline Productions, who provide national, regional, and local events with large modular LED displays, as well as live production services. Visit them at sideline-productions.com. And by Skipping Stone Studios, storytellers from Brookings, South Dakota, providing businesses, organizations, and nonprofits with video, post-production, and photography. Bring your story to life and visit them at skippingstonestudios.com. Welcome, everyone, to this week's podcast. I'm on the road for another week, so once again, I have to apologize for my lack of audio gear. This week, we had a couple of students join us from the SDSU Student Entrepreneurship Program. Up first, we have Jamie McKinney to tell us all about her home bakery, Jamie Cakes, and what she has learned from her experience. Followed by Kiana Knudsen to discuss the music business she started. The two speakers, like always, follow up their talks answering various questions from the audience.
Well, hello. It may seem like I'm reading an actual story, but they're my notes, just so you know. So I'm Jamie McKinney. I graduated from Brookings High School in 2010, and then after that I spent a year in Turnhout, Belgium as a Rotary Youth Exchange student, and now I'm a senior in the Entrepreneurial Studies program at SDSU. So from here, left, came back because it's great. So that's a little bit of my background. There's a lot of opportunities through the entrepreneurship program at SDSU that I think people know about, but I've tried to pride myself in taking advantage of them, if you will, terrible phrase, but in being active and being involved. So things like the CEO Club, which I'm president of, and being like active in that, networking events, opportunities, conferences, competitions. So there's a lot of that going on, but mainly I'm going to talk about some classes, but namely the internship requirement that we have in our program. So through the entrepreneurship program, you're required to have an internship. Like a lot of different majors have internships, right? But what's unique about entrepreneurship is that you have the opportunity and you're in fact encouraged to start your own venture as part of your growth as a future entrepreneur. So that's what I did. I was like, hey, you know, what am I good at? What do I like to do? I like to travel. Okay, I could start. No, that's out. I like to talk. No. Yeah, drum, no, musicians don't make money. Like, what can I do? So I settled on baking because, you know, with that tie to Europe and, you know, the unique shops that I saw there and bakeries and like specialized little retail stores and things like that, I thought baking would be cool and something I could grow upon or grow with. And my babysitter and I always bake cookies. Shout out to her. My mom probably remembers those days of messy kitchens, but I was entertained, so that's been something I've liked. Anyway, so where to begin as an entrepreneur or a student entrepreneur? I had no idea, but the good news is that through that you're required to get a mentor. Who's gonna mentor me? Like, I'm kind of a handful. Again, my mother could attest, but who's gonna do that? Well, luckily being from Brookings, I have the connections, not really, but there's a few people I know that I think gave me a leg up in that. So Denise Piquez, so if anybody knows of Denise's chocolates, she's a wonderful lady that makes insanely delicious chocolates, so she decided that it was okay if she was my mentor, and so she helped me along the process of where to begin and how to navigate things like that. Because she has a similar thing, she does it out of her home, and knows like the implications of like tax rules and the legalization and things like that, the legal rules, the legal side of it, that I was like, I just like to bake. Okay, fine. So she did that. So she helped me start up with the paperwork and things like that, including a business plan and really solidifying my idea, which I'm still kind of working on, getting a sales tax license. So I had a nice phone call with those people. They were great. Like, why are you selling cookies? Who are you? What? Like, so I know them. I know how to do that now. Liability insurance. a fictitious name, registered that, so in case you all wanted to be Jamie Cakes, sorry, that's mine. I set up a separate checking account, so I originally only invested $400 of my own money that I had from like little side baking gigs. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna take this money and put it in my own checking account, and that's all gonna be separate. So that was great. And then I worked on some designs and branding, like business cards, labels, and things like that. And I actually used a fellow student who focuses in like graphic design and things like that that was willing to help me. So that was really a cool thing, a cool resource that I have as a student that I got to use. Free labor, we'll design for cookies. Great, good. So you're probably wondering like how this is all even possible. Like, oh, you can bake from your home, you can do that, is that legal? What's going on with that? Well, it wasn't legal until 2010 when what's known as the Home Processed Foods Law passed. And that allows you to bake non-temperature controlled foods and sell them in a non-retail environment. So Denise helped me with a lot of things like that too. So if I sell you something, I can't sell it to your store for you to resell it. I can't have you come to my house. There's like lots of little rules like that. And I can't sell you like souffles, something that really needs to like be carefully done. But baked goods such as the biscotti, which hopefully you got a chance to have. If not, grab some to go. I could do that. Another thing with that, noting on the biscotti, there's lots of labeling, like you're like, whoa, I can barely see what's even in here. That's part of the law too, is that I have to tell you, I made it at home, what's in it, when I made it, things like that, and that's just to protect myself along with insurance. So it is possible, thank you to that. Otherwise, things like farmers markets, were almost becoming impossible up until that point. And there's lots of different stuff with like canning and stuff too, but we're just gonna stick with the cookie side. So I'm also a certified food safety manager, which is another thing I did. I got one class credit for that too, and that kind of helps build my credibility for giving you food. Now to the marketing side of it. My products are cupcakes, cakes, cookies, biscotti, things like that. So that's part of that. Promotion-wise, I use social media. You can find me on Facebook at Jamie Cakes and Instagram, Jamie Cakes SD. So that's another thing I've learned, that if you have an idea, you probably want to buy the domain and all the usernames and things like that, because you'll find me a lot being Jamie Cakes SD, which, San Diego, no, South Dakota, things like that. So now I've become what we call a domain hoarder. Every time I have an idea, I just go buy it. Like I own like Coffee Cookie Box, like Biscotti Rocks, like all these random, all these random things I now own. So sorry if you want to do that too. But now, like some of the struggles and the current things I'm doing as a student entrepreneur, I say, yeah, I'm a full-time student right now. I have a part-time job. I try to have a life, kind of works, things like that. So that's been hard. And then over promoting my product is something I'm not totally interested in. That's why it's kind of a word of mouth, Facebook sort of, oh yeah, I heard of that girl thing, because I'm not totally into like, let me put this big ad in the paper, like everybody buy cupcakes now because I have to go to school. Usually, like hopefully I make it, no. And then there's some inconsistencies in like holidays. That's kind of hard. Like Valentine's week, I was like, but now this week I'm like cruising, like totally fine. Coming up to St. Patrick's Day, so call me. And then being in a home kitchen too can be a little bit tough. I have an entire room dedicated to all things baking, so I probably have like 400 cookie cutters and like 300 things of sprinkles, and it's just like, it's not a mess, it's organized, but I'm lucky to have that space and be from town and be able to do that at home to have that, but that's sort of a weird thing in college, like where do you do this at? And then being a custom-based business has been kind of hard. So for example, I make these monogram cookies, which like brides love, which gets me the business, and they can do it in any color, shape, blah, blah, blah. Initial, if you will. But it's kind of like then I'm backing myself into a corner and not having as much creative freedom. So that's kind of something I've been like, well, like this was fun, but now I have to do it, and it's become work. Ooh, what's that? So that's kind of interesting. And then maybe I've kind of over-diversified my products too. Like I like cakes. Cakes are okay, but then when I have to make a lime green Barbie cake with like what is that? Why do you want that? You just go with it, even though I'm more interested in maybe the cookie side of it. And the reason is that cookies are less perishable and they can last longer. They have a lasting power. So if it's sitting on your counter in 3 days, you're gonna be like, Jamie Cakes is good, versus if you leave one of my cakes there, it's so fresh and things like that. Like, I don't know, it has to be perfect, maybe. So that's kind of an issue with that. So what's the future like for Jamie Cakes? Well, I'm gonna finish school, but something we learn in school is all about the effectuation model of entrepreneurship and bootstrapping and things like that. So working within your means and growing in steps and stages, which is awesome because it's something that you can do, but at the same time, I feel like I'm the generation of like instant gratification, so it's kind of difficult. But I'm gonna continue to do what I do and transition to the professional world, now seeking employment. So I want to gain experience and keep going and then see where everything leads me and just do this on the side. So that's where I'm at and where I'm going. Thanks.
Well, thank you. I joined the Entrepreneurial Studies program about 2 years ago, and it's been the best thing that I've ever done. I've never had advisors or professors so excited to help me, and it's not about their own agenda at all. Craig Silvernagel just met with me for an hour discussing one of my business ideas and just providing feedback, and Barb Heller set me up with so many meetings, it's ridiculous. So I'm really thankful for that program. I started playing music when I was really, really young, and so my dad taught us. It was kind of a family band at nursing homes. And so we ended up playing in bars when I was in high school. I entered the Texaco Country Showdown, if any of you have heard of that. And it's 50,000 competitors of all ages around the nation. And so I made it through about 1,000 competitors. I made it through to the top 50 at the national semifinals, and then I lost. So that led my sister and I to starting a band. And so we played throughout high school, and we entered the showdown again and made it to the same spot. And that's when I realized that I didn't want to be a doctor anymore, and I joined this program. And so that also led me to teaching guitar. Some of the people through my hometown in Phillip, the community, had seen our shows and asked about guitar lessons. So I ended up with about 16 students my senior year of high school. I didn't do any sports that year. I just fell in love with teaching music. But one of the inconsistencies with it was that the guitar books weren't geared towards children at all. I mean, what little kid wants to learn Scarborough Fair and Camptown races? And so I've taught over 30 people to play guitar now through a new method. I use modern songs off the radio, and I'll break it apart so that they might just strum one string the whole song, but they can strum along to Fireworks and just fun songs that they can sing along to. Right now I have 3 amazing students in the community, and we have a lot of fun with that. So I'm starting a guitar book company called Kai's Chords, and it's going to use those same concepts. We've got games that they can fill out in their little books, some coloring exercises, and I want it to be a 6-book series. So I plan to have this out by next May of 2016, and so I'm really excited about this. So buy my books, I guess. I also competed with this at the First Dakota Bank Business Plan Competition, and I believe the entrepreneurial program helped set it up. And so it was such a good experience. My partner and I actually won the competition and got some startup money to start releasing the books. One of the problems we've had with it, though, is IP issues. If anyone knows anything about intellectual property, hit a girl up. It's really complicated not to infringe on the other original artist's rights. So, another product that I'm working on is called the Super Strap. It's a guitar strap that's retractable so that it fits into your case so that you're not fumbling trying to get it in for half of the show. It also has storage spaces for picks and anything else that you could want, or little kids could put their crayons in it. So I just competed with this business competition idea, and I was one of 5 winners, so that was great. I'm really excited about that one too. And even if it doesn't hit the market, I want one so bad that even if one gets made, I'm going to be really excited. So. Other than my extracurriculars, I'm pretty involved on campus too. I'm a member of CEO, which Barb Heller is an advisor of. It's Collegiate Entrepreneurs Organization, and it's a lot of fun. We just went to Wooden Legs a couple of weeks ago and checked out the brewery, and it was just amazing. We do all kinds of fun stuff. And we're having Beth Knutson come in and talk to us next week, and that'll be really fun too. I'm also in the Investments Club, the Dean's List, and then I'll be competing for Miss SDSU on Sunday at 2 o'clock if anyone's available. We actually have Her Highness, the Queen, right now with us, so she'll have to give away her crown, but you'll get to see it one more time. So that's all I've got. Thank you.
What can you do to help me? Well, like you said, I feel like I had a bit of a home court advantage, you know? Having a mentor that was from here that did something similar. So anything to facilitate communication or bridge the gap kind of between the community and the university. I know that there are tons of ways that that's already being done, but specifically with student entrepreneurs, and to know that students aren't necessarily a threat, but an asset, and can grow businesses and keep them here or encourage them and things like that. So that's what you can do.
Well, being from a different town, I don't have that hometown advantage, so I really struggled to find a space to teach guitar lessons. And so right now I'm just going to people's houses and it's a little awkward, so yeah, if anyone knows a space, I would love that. Also, you can like my Facebook page, it's just Kiana Knutson Music, so thanks. It's Kianna and Knutson with TS, so I'll write that down or something.
Defining moments. Well, I ruined a cake a couple weeks ago, and that was a real, that was a wake-up call to I'm not perfect, but however, side note, through the entrepreneurship program, we talk about the beauty and the value of being a non-expert, so I'm just gonna chalk it up to that. But that was really like, oh, I can't just see it on Pinterest and do it.
Well, I really didn't want to do anything besides play music, so that made it really easy. And then after losing the showdowns, it was like, I don't want to do anything else. Like, I don't care that I just lost. I want to do this, so that helped.
Right, I've struggled with that a lot. I'm graduating in May, and so there's like things like, well, can you do my wedding this summer? Can you do like things like commitments in the future? And I kind of am like, what, am I still gonna be doing that? Like, who am I? What am I doing? I'd really like insurance and things like that, so I can't just live at home and bake for the rest of my life, as great as that sounds. So yeah, I do feel like it's kind of like I'm in a relationship with Jamie Cakes, and we can't just break up right away. So hopefully I can continue it and see where it goes. So it's definitely not gonna end, and I hope to stay around here.
And mine's kind of the opposite, like how long can I prevent getting a real job? If I could survive off of this forever, I would love to. So.
Well, I am a fake Norwegian. I'm not Norwegian at all, but I have this fascination with like local things. So lefse, for example, like local baked goods, things that like people like, okay, this is going to sound terrible, but all the grandmas that make lefse are kind of dying out. So I think that, I take that as an entrepreneur, I see that as an opportunity, you know, so I've met with a few grandmas, things like that. My grandma's not a lefse maker, the other one's not around, so, and it never was. Atlanta, they don't make a lefse there. Anyway, so things like that I think are things that you can do to help us and teach our generation, you know, those old school songs, and you can teach me how to make lefse, and that will, you know, keep the tradition alive. Oh yeah, and the internet is great for all things you want to learn how to do. YouTube it. So many lefse videos. Yeah, I watched a lot of YouTube videos on lefse, and there were tons of potatoes lost. Yeah, as far as the commercial kitchen or like shared commercial kitchen space and stuff like that, I find it a little bit interesting that Brookings doesn't have that yet. I think it's definitely in the near future, and people should do that and think about it. So I kind of feel like I'm ready for the next step or something like that, where I could push even more of my product out. And have it available in retail stores and things like that. But as a student, not quite yet, but if there was a good fit for that, I would definitely be interested in things like that. And as far as encouraging other students, I think that's part of what the entrepreneurship program does as a whole, and specifically the Collegiate Entrepreneurs Organization. So I kind of drill people to compete in these competitions and get their ideas out there and find people like, why aren't you doing that? Just holding ourselves accountable, kind of.
Well, that's it for this week's show. But before we go, some words of wisdom.
Yeah, there's a market gap for everything, and where there's a market gap, there's a domain name.
Have a good day, everyone.